Listen to this episode if you have been wanting to dive in to more PR in your small business, but you have just not known where to start. Today, I am interviewing Gloria Chou. She is an award-winning PR strategist, the host of the top-rated small business PR podcast, known for her untraditional yet proven approach to PR, which makes visibility and access to media accessible for everyone. Gloria helps small business founders get featured organically in top-tier media without needing PR connections or a large following. Her strategies have earned small business owners in nearly every industry niche over 1 billion organic views and features in outlets like New York Times, Oprah's Favorite Things, Vogue, and Forbes without any pay to play. A former U.S. diplomat turned small business advocate, Gloria has been on 100 podcasts and was named Pitch Writing Expert of the Year in 2021 as part of the Influential Businesswomen Awards and Forbes Next 1000 honoree. Without further ado, Gloria shares so many tangible tips for PR. This is an incredible, short, action-packed episode to help you get seen in a big way. Without further ado, let's dive in to today's episode. Hi, Gloria. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. You are a PR specialist. Kind of give people that might not know or just need a good refresher. What really is PR and what does it really do for them?
Yeah, so I always say marketing is you talking about you and PR is your industry talking about you.
Mm,
And, as product owners, it's no wonder why PR has been off limits because a lot of times we either have to pay an agency 10 grand a month for 6 months, or it's like one of those scammy DMs that you get, right? Like raise your hand if you got a DM that's like, oh, it can get you featured in a random 40 under 40. So it's definitely complex. And I think the gatekeepers of this industry want to keep it that way so they can charge high premiums. But
yeah.
when I'm talking about PR, I'm talking about that organic PR where you're not paying a journalist or an influencer, but you're actually getting featured for free. So
Mm,
think about getting into like a Wirecutter or a BuzzFeed or a Refinery 29 or TV or radio or podcast. For example, me being on your podcast right now is great PR. I'm not paying you for it, right? I'm positioning myself as an expert, giving value to your audience, but I'm getting that organic SEO. I'm getting, eyeballs on me. So to me, there's no better marketing activity because no other marketing activity really fills all the buckets of traffic, credibility, sales, and SEO.
yeah.
SEO, which we all want.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people kind of have this misconception around PR that it's just articles or like, getting into magazines or getting into different kind of just high level articles and different things. What are all of kind of the little mini categories that PR can really entail?
Yeah, so PR could be, being on breakfast TV. It could be in a mother's gift guide segment, a local story. It can be print. It can be an online article, like on Oprah's Favorite Things. It can be a podcast, like what we're doing here. It
Yeah.
could be speaking. It's any kind of visibility that's
Mhm.
positioning you as a credible product. And I think that's what we need. It's not enough to have people simply see your product. They also
Yeah.
have to trust your product so that you can compete with the bigger brands.
Yeah. When is a good time to kind of start PR? Like, is there prerequisites that you recommend prior to really jumping into the PR world?
Yeah, this is really the best question. I think a lot of product owners just never start, or they
Mhm.
just feel like the bar is so high that they're just going to pour money into ads and other
Yeah.
things. But we don't own our social media. It can be hacked, banned, restricted at any point. And the buyer intent of someone randomly on Instagram is actually very low. But if I were to click on an article, let's say on Well and Good, right? Like
Mhm.
10 best facial oils, my buying intent's probably much, much higher. So
Yeah.
from all that perspective, like you want to be able to meet your customers where they're at, and there's no better way to do it than PR. And
Mm.
of course, there's many different buckets of PR. There's like the founder story, where
Yeah.
on Business Insider, it's like how a mom of two, created this eczema cream. And then there's kind of just like the product articles, listicles, so that you're getting into like a gift guide, product guide, or a shopping roundup, and that's really great because then people can click and buy your product.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more so utilizing it as almost like an authority builder, as a bottom of funnel marketing. It doesn't just have to be kind of that top of funnel brand awareness.
Yeah, people will find you top of funnel though, right? Because if I'm
Yeah.
doing a search, that's going to give me that SEO more than any Instagram post or ad that you throw up there, which doesn't have any SEO.
Yeah. Interesting. So if somebody is wanting to get into PR, they're like, all right, like she's saying it's a good idea at any stage, you can kind of do it. Are there any actual prerequisites other than really having a solid brand idea? Do you have to be launched? How do you kind of go about doing that?
Yeah, I always say if you're ready to take a customer's money for your product, then you're ready for PR
Okay.
because that's what's going to help influence their decision. We know, like empirically, that just one touch point is not enough. And I read somewhere like people need to see your brand like 15 times. And I see PR as a shortener. So like they actually shortens the length. If I see that you're a credible brand, you've been on Birdie, you've been on Well and Good Refinery 29, that gives me a stamp of approval, especially if
Yeah.
it's something I'm gonna like put on my body or like a gift. It gives you that stamp of credibility. And so there's
Mhm.
really nothing more powerful. And to be honest, like journalists want to hear from you. And I think the PR agencies have made it like such a big, gate
Oh
kept thing
gosh.
that's like, oh, you have to go through us. And I know from helping thousands of indie tiny brands, I mean brands like making candles in their garage, that's not true.
Yeah.
Journalists actually want to discover new brands and we actually rely on them and that's how they become, credible and ethical. Think about it this way. If journalists only talked about what's being sold at Nordstrom's and Macy's and Target, we're probably not going to believe in them a
Yeah.
lot, right? So in order for them to maintain their credibility, they actually need to discover brands. So you're actually doing them a favor by
Mhm.
putting your name in the hat and letting
Yeah.
them know about what you're working on.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. Like if we just wait till we get to this point, like people already know you, it's just gonna feel like a regurgitated information if we almost wait too long. Journalists want that new kind of indie style brand to come up and up through them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So
How do you get in
definitely.
touch with journalists? Like where and I think a lot of people are kind of like, all right, that sounds great, but where do I find them? How do I pitch them? What does that process really look like?
Yeah, so PR at its core, I'm going to take a step back and
Yeah.
I've never worked a day in my life at any PR agency, so I'm not your typical PR gal. I kind of
Mhm.
hacked it on the outside as an outsider cold calling, and I started to pick up on patterns on when a journalist would, say, well, give me more information. So,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of features later, I put it into a framework, which we can talk about my CPR pitching framework, but very high level. Getting featured is just writing a relevant pitch and sending it to the right person.
Mm.
Notice how I said relevant pitch and not newsworthy pitch. I don't
Mm.
believe that there's a newsworthy person, product, or brand.
Yeah.
Right? I've written pitches for toilet paper and AI software. And so it's not about like, oh, I have to be a certain way, I have to reinvent the wheel. No. It's about what's relevant for that season. So let's talk about how do we pitch according to the seasons? A lot of times we think we got to pitch for benefits and features because as founders, we're really good at marketing ourselves.
Yeah.
But knowing how to pitch to a journalist is a new way of positioning, a new way of messaging. So instead of thinking about benefits and features, you want to think about what are the standout things for Mother's Day, for spring gift guides. If you make a candle, right, the hot chocolate flavor is probably not going to be for summer, it's going to be for winter.
Yeah.
If you make something that's like a sparkly sequin jacket, I know Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. So think about any pop culture tie-ins.
Mm.
Think about the holidays. Think about what's trending. I know that there's certain ingredients that are trending. So that's what I mean by relevancy. It's so
Yeah.
important when you're pitching, and you might have 50 different products, but what is a one or three that's perfect for that season? So
Right.
that's really what I mean.
Yeah, and you have to think about the journalist side, like they are trying to be as timely as possible. So you almost kind of have to adapt to what it is that might be timely in their sake as well. If you have a product, like I already know people are going to be like, yeah, but like my product isn't overly like there's no story behind it. Like it's just like I create this candle or I create this. How do you go about making your product feel relevant in a time that you're like I don't really feel like my product is overly relevant.
Well, then I would say you're shortchanging yourself, and obviously you do have a story because you actually put all your blood, sweat, and tears to make something. So there absolutely is a story. Now
Yeah.
it might be saturated. There's many different candles out there, but pick the one that's perfect for that season. I'll give you an example. We have someone who makes candles, and it's a lot of like Far East scents. So it's like lychee and rose and peony. And Japan was the number one most visited place in the world last year. So think about the relevancy for that.
Mm.
So we know that that's trending, and so she was able to pitch something around like cherry blossoms, and so the pitch email actually referenced that, the fact
Yeah.
that people loved going to Japan. We had someone who made swimwear, and I know that White Lotus was shooting in Italy last season, and
Yeah.
so the pitch that I came up with for her was, how to find the best swimwear for your White Lotus Italian vacation. So that's what I
Mm.
mean by relevancy, and there's so many ways to tie it into your product.
Yeah, so when you're pitching kind of an overall idea, are you more so pitching, "Hey, I would love my brand to be considered to be in any of yours?" Are you saying, "Hey, I have a really great article idea for you. Like, should we go more niche with it or should they go more specific?"
So you're not writing the article for them, right?
Yeah.
That's a different type of, I mean, that's a contributor article, that's different. But if you're pitching that, first of all, they know that you're pitching. So you don't need
Mhm.
to say to be considered. They know that that's just how
That's what
news
you're doing.
works.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do, and so let's, we talked about like relevancy. Let's talk about my CPR method. It's an anatomy of the pitch. C stands for credibility, P stands for point of view, and R stands for relevance. when you're writing your pitch, the subject line, let's start with the subject line because that's how we get it open. Your subject line should not contain your name, your company name, the product name, or the word pitch because it's relevant. They don't know you yet. So
Mm-hmm.
the subject line should be something like samples available, three best stocking stuffers for kids under 10 years old.
Mm,
Do you see how that's like very specific of exactly what is the category and what it is, right?
yeah.
If you make paint, it could be like three most trending paint colors for this style or this aesthetic, right? And so that's the subject line. And then once you start the email, do not waste real estate because again, you're competing for their attention. You want
Yeah.
to grab them quickly with the relevance, so the R in CPR. So you can
Hmm.
say, as we head into spring and summer, your people are looking for light, fresh XYZ flavors.
Yeah.
So don't say like, oh, how's the weather or whatever. Like get right into it. You can put a stat, you can put a trend on TikTok. You can talk about how this hashtag has 3 million followers. For example, Sophia Richie's wedding was all the rage. And so there was a lot of like minimalism and like spring, summer bridal trends that came out of that. So that
Yeah.
is what I mean. So you would want to reference that right away. And then the P in CPR stands for point of view. So that's 3 bullet points about your product and why it fits into that relevance that you just set up really nicely.
Mm,
And then the credibility could be one or two sentences. Don't go crazy here. One or two sentences about, maybe your founder story, why, if you won any awards, if you're like organic certified. And then, you can put one photo, 1 to 3 low res photos, and then you can do a hyperlink to find out more here. A couple of things about the email. It needs to have these things. It needs to have the price. So they know if it's a luxury gift, it's stocking stuffer. They need to know where it's being shipped. So is it made to order? Is it available for shipping? And where do they find it? Is it on Target? Is it on Amazon? Or is it only on your website? And if
mm,
you have an affiliate link, like a share a sale or an A1, like put that in there as well. I know that Etsy and Amazon has their own affiliate
yeah.
link, but if you do offer affiliates, that's also great. If you also offer samples, put that in there. So that's really kind of the anatomy of a winning pitch using my CPR method.
Interesting. So you're really giving them a good broad overview of this is like a short and sweet. This is what we do. This is what our product kind of like credentials, details are, and this is what we feel like your article could look like.
Yeah, well, you're not saying what your article could look like. It's more about the season. So as you're covering
The
spring and summer
relevancy.
styles, as we head into Father's Day, as we get into Q4.
Okay, so you're really more so pitching why your product is timely right now and relevant right now to speak about within the things that are going on in the world.
Exactly, because those are the type of stories, right? For
Yeah.
example, right now there's a lot about travel, spring
Mhm.
break, luggage, right? And so that's the relevance that you're going to pitch for.
Mm,
So we want to pitch for the season. So that's kind of what to write.
yeah.
Now let's talk about who to send it to.
Yeah.
So you might be thinking, okay, well, how do I find these journalists? And there's a couple of ways you can do this. So the first thing is to set up a Google News alert, which is free, and you type in your keywords, and it'll ping you with all the digital articles about your industry. And
Mm,
this is great for two reasons. One, it trains your brain to think in terms of story,
yeah.
and then also like how the news is. And then you can also copy and paste the writer's name and their email, which is public information, into an ever expanding Excel spreadsheet, and then you can start to create your own media list. Now,
Mm,
obviously, in our program, we have over 135 different categories, and with the full contact information, but you can start to do this by yourself. Another thing to sign up for is sourceofsources.com. And so every day we get pinged with journalist inquiries of, I'm looking for a baker to comment on this, I'm looking for spring gift guides. Now, not all of them will fit your needs, but I've gotten people featured on Forbes in 24 hours just by sending them something, right? So
yeah.
register at Source of Sources. Also, Haro is back, help a reporter
Yes.
out.
I got
So
that email
that
yesterday. I was excited about it.
Yeah, so something like that as well, right? So those are all the journalists actually desperately looking for people
Mhm.
to interview and things to include. And then another great hack, I just did this training in my program, is use AI tools. So perplexity.ai is a better Google. I think it's by far
Yeah.
the best AI search engine. And you
Mhm.
can type into Perplexity, hey, I have a candle and here's who it's for, here's the price point. What are some of the gift guide categories that would fit for it?
Yeah.
And then you can ask it, well, now that we know these categories, which magazines always publish these categories every single year? And a lot of these categories are evergreen. They kind of just like update it. So they're
Yeah.
always going to do gifts for her, gifts for him, sustainable gifts, gifts for like Mother's Day, Father's Day. Those are kind of like, the main things. But there's also other ones, for example, like self care gifts or postpartum gifts or vegan
Yeah.
gifts. So there are so many different categories that you can pitch for. And I think a lot of times we just don't know that because no one's made this information accessible. But
Mhm.
I've had people with one product get featured in 10 different types of gift guides
Mm,
that's just repurposed.
yeah.
So that's like the world is your oyster there. And in terms of if you want to get into like a gift guide or a shopping guide or like have your product be recommended, then you want to look for the shopping or commerce writer or editor. So people
Mm,
with the title shopping editor, commerce writer, these are the people who are in the position of recommending products to their readers. So we just had the shopping editor at InStyle coming in to meet everyone in our program, and she's like, "Oh, like I'm the one that's basically deciding like which are the best products to recommend." And she
yeah.
writes tons of gift guides throughout all categories. So those are the people that you want to network with.
All right. That was a lot of really incredible information. You're talking a lot about gift guides. Do you feel like gift guides are a perfect place to start? Do you feel like that's the good place because it is again, it's a little bit more sales focused? Do you feel like that is almost like the niche that you recommend starting in when it comes to PR?
Well, I think if you have a product, there's no better way to get in front of your people and make sales and getting into a product around it because you're
Yeah.
basically in a list of recommended products.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's authority. It's authority coming from somebody else and people don't yeah, I think that's incredible. I haven't really heard of that angle of PR too much other than, around the holiday season, but you're right, it is very cyclical. Like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Valentine's Day, like there's so many different levels of gift guides that people are putting out. What does a timeline look like in the world of a journalist? Like right now, as we're recording it, is the end of April. When are people looking for Halloween? When are people looking for like the fall? When is that timeline looking like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you're looking for print, like I'm talking about magazine, like when you're at the checkout of the grocery store,
Yeah.
that's like 6 months in advance. But for digital, it could have a really quick turnaround. So I wouldn't pitch more than 4 to 6 weeks beforehand. So if
Interesting.
you're doing like Q4, like a lot of times, we want to get into a Christmas gift guide.
Yeah.
I would start pitching in, October. Like
Okay.
that's a great time, like September, October, no earlier. And there's also last minute gift guides. And
Mm.
there's also gift guides on how to spend your gift cards. So just when you think you've missed the mark, there's always an opportunity.
Yeah, there's always more gift guides going out. There's more things. And so I feel like I hear a lot in the PR world. And it's all about the relationships that you build. It's all about, having those connections or having like some sort of name that people kind of remember when you're sending those emails. How do people go about creating like a connection with a journalist? Or is it really just writing a good enough, like straightforward, open pitch that they really understand and that they're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, journalists understand that people pitch them, and
Yeah,
they
that's
know. So you don't need to tell them that you're pitching them.
awesome.
And again, if you write using the CPR method and you make yourself a valuable resource, you're actually doing them a favor. Now, it's
Yeah.
important to follow up. A lot of times people don't follow up and they just send a pitch and go hide in the bathroom. Again, it's a radical act. But so I applaud you, right? No one's really taught you how to do this, but just keep pressing that send button. I usually recommend you to install an email tracking software so you know
Mhm.
if it's being opened or not. And if it's being opened multiple times, and they're not responding, it just means that they really like it. They're just looking for a place for it in their editorial calendar. And so that's when you want to follow up. I recommend following up once a week, no more than 3 times. And instead of just saying, hey, following up, try to
Yeah.
refresh your angles. For example, hey, we just sold out of this flavor. Or, oh, by the way, this new trend just came out. Or, oh, now we're in spring season. So try to see if you can refresh that angle every time you do follow up.
So you're kind of adding a little bit more value every email as opposed to being like, "Hey, bumping this up in your inbox."
Yeah.
Okay. And you said in that email to kind of have a couple of photos. I've seen people send almost like a one pager. I've seen across the board of what people kind of recommend. You said to have 3 low-res photos and a hyperlink. Would you just hyperlink right to your website, to your socials? What is kind of that overall? What are the tangible things that you want to send to these people?
Well, I wouldn't put more than low res. You can put up to three.
Okay.
And then you can hyperlink under your company name so that it goes to your website, under your name if you have Instagram, and then maybe like another hyperlink to find out more, or like where they can order it on your website. So you can say, oh, my candles are $59 available on abc.com. So then you would obviously want to hyperlink where they can find it.
Yeah, interesting. And do
And I
you
wouldn't add attachments. Attachments are bad. It's going to trigger their spam filter. So do
Yeah.
not add attachments. Do not add an order form. Do not add a brochure with all of your products. That's very overwhelming for them.
Yeah. And you don't recommend putting a media kit in there?
For product or gift guides, don't put it in. The media kit is kind of outdated. Media kits are only good
Mhm.
if people are asking for it. But I
Yeah.
think the first pitch, you should be able to put everything in there without having a big attachment.
Yeah, because it's really just about interest. It's like, "Hey, this is what we do. This is what we're interested in." If they want more info, they'll ask for it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. You have given so much detail here, so many ideas. I love the source of sources. The Harrow, I'm really happy that they're back as well. If someone is sitting down saying, all right, I want to get started, what would you say step one is? Is it figuring out your pitch, figuring out what's going on in the world, finding journalists,
Yeah.
compiling? Like, what is that step one?
Well, step one is to watch my free PR training that kind of walks through exactly step by step, and I actually show you a screenshot of an actual CPR pitch, word for word, from subject line all the way to the last sentence of
Hmm.
someone that got featured 10 times, right? So you can watch that at gloriachoupr.com/masterclass for free. That's Gloria, CHOU, PR.com/masterclass. But first thing I would do is sign up for a Google News alert, right? That's free.
Yeah.
And then I would sign up for a source of sources and Haro. And then I would think about what are the relevancies for for whatever you're doing, right? So what are the 3 to 5 relevant angles?
Yeah.
So it could be gifts for mom, it could be self-care gift, wellness, whatever that is. And so those are your main buckets that you're going to really want to focus on pitching.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really great. And do you feel like there's any industries, any niches that PR isn't good for? Or is it kind of something that's open for everybody?
I mean, there are so many podcasts and
Yeah.
blogs, and there's for anything. I mean, there's even, podcasts on ghost readings. So
Yeah.
there's like
So many
something
things.
for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. That's great. Gloria, I know you already gave your link. We will put that down below. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and what everything is in your world as well?
Yeah. So definitely watch my masterclass, gloriachildcare.com/masterclass. It's free. And then I'm on Instagram. I'm an open book. I talk a lot about my journey, not just PR related, but generational trauma healing with my mom, and just like other things. And so, be in for a ride. It's definitely not your typical account. So I'm at Gloria Chow PR, Gloria CHOUPR. And if you DM me the word Madison, I will actually give you an additional freebie so you can get cracking on your CPR pitch.
Love it. We will put those links below to her Instagram, to her masterclass, and all of that there as well. Gloria, if you were going to leave our audience with something, just a wisdom from a business owner to business owner, what is that kind of piece of wisdom, that piece of advice that you would give somebody?
Ooh, we had someone in our program actually got so much PR that he actually ended up exiting his company and selling it, and now he's starting a new startup. And he told me that everything you want is on the other side of that send button. So
Mm,
I encourage all of my students, all of the people to actually put it as a sticky note on your computer. Everything you want is on the other side of the send button. So keep
mm.
pitching yourself, keep advocating for yourself. Your business really needs you to be its number one spokesperson and advocate.
Yeah, I love that. And I guess one final question for you on that is, do you feel like that there's anything that people have to do organically alongside of when they're utilizing PR? Anything that is a prereq? I see a lot where I'll have ads, or I have people that come to me and they're in PR, they're in magazines, but then their social media is totally totally neglected, or there's different pieces throughout their business that feels to be almost neglected in the marketing process. Do you feel like there's anything that has to go coinciding with the PR world?
Now, in terms of just what journalists want, we have top tier journalists coming in from Good Morning America, Business Insider, and they actually come into the program. And I always ask them, "Do you care about people's Instagram following?" And they say, "Absolutely not. It is not. It is not a popularity contest. I know that you can buy your Instagram followers, but a website is nice. Having a good website, having good packaging,
Mm,
right? Especially if you like make something that's giftable. Those are way more important than your Instagram followers."
yeah. Love it. Gloria, thank you so much. I love the everything happens on the other side of the send button. The worst thing that can happen is they say no or they don't respond. Keep pitching. I love that. Gloria, I will send everybody your way. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, how incredible was that episode with Gloria? She was a wealth of knowledge, and I can't wait to go expand my PR and the PR opportunities that I can provide for my clients as well. If you are interested in learning more about her, make sure that you click the link in the show notes. You can use the code Madison and you get a discount in her program, as well as you can go follow her over on Instagram. She provides PR opportunities all of the time for small business owners. If you have any questions, as always, reach out. I am so happy that you were tuned in to this episode. It was incredibly tangible. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode.